So thanks for the intro, Gav. Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you all here, and thanks for taking the time out today to join this webinar and hopefully to discover a few hints and tips on how to deliver virtual apps and desktops in a simpler and more affordable way than you and your customers might currently be doing with Citrix. So just to cover off very briefly on the agenda and try not to labour too many of the points today, but what we're hoping to cover, the key points really for us in the market are the hybrid everything, the new reality, challenges around Citrix customers and what they're facing, and you guys as partners and the challenges that you're getting pushed back onto your desk from where you may well have sold Citrix to customers in the past. And along with that, then topping that with a why Parallels RAS might be a viable alternative for you and your customers, and just touching briefly on the Parallels RAS architecture, just to highlight some of the key points, features that we offer, and why we feel like, and customers are feeling like as they're moving, that Parallels RAS is genuinely a viable alternative to Citrix. So on to customers and their surroundings really. So we're just going to start based on the infrastructure and where customers are actually hosting their desktops and applications. So taking a short step back into that world for a moment, customers are really open to the choice of where they want to put things. Do we want to have a data center? Do we want to go on that cloud journey and host things? Or do we want to have a foot in both camps because we're not really sure on where we are? We may have some legacy applications that aren't necessarily compatible with the latest versions of Windows Server, and applications and desktops that need to be hosted as such in a more legacy style environment. So we see a whole plethora of customers in each of these sort of scenarios themselves. It can be a combination of solutions as well, which is currently hosting their solution for them. And rightly so, Citrix can offer delivery from each of these scenarios as well. And there are not really any other alternatives on the market other than ourselves that can do that. But customers are obviously looking at cloud as a greener alternative to not have that big OpEx upfront cost, and do a capex upfront cost, going down the OpEx model of paying monthly and using someone else's storage, but not having that big overhead every 5 to 7 years on a big refresh project. And that goes hand in hand with what we're seeing in terms of workforce as well, really. So we're also seeing that not only are resources being shared in a on-prem, remote style, cloud style environment, but we're also seeing that the workforce is doing that as well. And this is really born out of a post-COVID style environment where a lot of companies set up to get their resources and employees working from home with laptops accessing the network from outside, investing in security perimeters and access to network in an efficient and secure manner to make sure that their data and their resources are all safe, but also that the people could work efficiently. And we're seeing that kind of work-life balance is really stuck as something that workforces are happy with. They have the flexibility of going to put some washing on at lunchtime and doing all the things that you would do while you're being at home, but also having that focus on your desk, none of the water cooler kind of interactions and distractions that they're having. And actually people are just as efficient, if not more so, when working from home. I mean, you certainly, I know I am more enticed to log back on for a couple of hours in the evening than I would be to drive back to the office, that's for sure. And I think that's something we're really seeing reflected in the market. So just to set the scene a little bit around the infrastructure and end users having choices, they also do with regards to their workforce and where they're based, but also that then brings new challenges with it. It brings the challenge of how do we authenticate these people? How do we make sure our data and our workloads are secure and where they're accessing it from, aka their home network over an internet breakout? How do we make sure that everything is as secure and as protected as it can be from a business intelligence perspective, or indeed a personal data perspective, depending upon the organization? So just to move forward a little bit into Parallels and who we are and what we do. So we're focusing more on kind of the middle and right hand side of this screen as we see it at the moment. So Parallels RAS, DAS, secure workspace and browser isolation. We have a whole suite of products that can deliver remote applications, desktops, desktop pools, traditional one-to-one VDI, whatever the customer wants to do in terms of remote delivery or centralized management. It doesn't have to be customers and end users that are off-site. Lots of spread out workforces could simply be a lot of people that's difficult to manage on individual devices on a fat client style basis. And there where we're seeing the demands grow for technology such as Citrix, Horizon, Parallels, Cameo, you see there's options out there on the market, but we're seeing that demand grow in our space. And just to touch on one of the points on the agenda now, so Citrix customers are coming to us all the time through partners, hitting our website, interacting with webinars, and we're trying to understand really what their key challenges are. So one of the things we will always do in that customer journey is ask them what their key problems are. What is their reason for looking? Why are you struggling with your existing technology? Because simply placing an order for a renewal is a very simple process. Okay, you guys know that, we know that. It's a lot easier than selling a new solution. And for an end user perspective, it's a lot easier than installing and administering and setting up a new solution as well, training your new people on it. So the main reasons they're looking is the increasing costs have been a pretty rapid rate over the last few years. We're seeing unnecessary bundling from the Citrix technologies. As they've tried to simplify the amount of SKUs they sell to their customers, actually what they've done is they've forced customers into one of fewer categories, which means they're often paying for features they don't need, paying for levels of support and SLAs that they don't need, or they're simply paying a lot more comparative to the license because they previously sat within one of the two more up-to-date categories. The trust and uncertainty around the future of the company, bearing in mind the takeover that happened, I think 3 years ago now, is also something which they're not too certain about. And we're getting the feedback that customers have lost account managers, partners have lost partner account managers. Marketing are not outreaching as much now, and Citrix have outwardly said that they only really are going to be proactively managing that real top layer of customers. So where does that leave you if you sit below that bracket? That leaves you without a touch point, that leaves you without an account manager, that leaves you without somebody who can support you on your costs to stop you having a significant increase year over year in a repeated basis. And also, what's the company going to be doing in 5 years' time? Because they are owned by a very aggressive private investment company, clearly. So are they going to build this base up and sell it? And then what happens to the smaller companies? Are you going to face even further cuts? Who knows? Right. So that's another big piece of feedback. We're saying that local touch point and that care within the customer community seems to have gone as well. We're also getting a lot of feedback from customers that they're not able to renew for 1 year. They're being forced to renew for 3 or 5 years, and they're the only options being put on the table. Now, I can't speak on behalf of those customers, but this is feedback we're getting. And some customers simply have policies whereby they can't renew software for a longer period of time because it is a subscription-based OPEX style funding. So they can't say that they're going to have the money for that in 2026, 2027, 2028 in order to commit for that longer period. So for some organizations, that's a real struggle and is one of the outright top points that they cite when they speak to us. The ongoing administration cost is another big one. So we're seeing Citrix skills within the market become more desirable because people are stepping away from the industry, people are retiring, people are going to less fast-paced kind of walks of life. And in order to train new resources on how to use a Citrix style solution is not cheap. Compared with ourselves, where the training is all free and it's accessible online and you can do it at your own pace. There's classroom-based sessions that cost thousands of dollars, thousands of pounds, depending upon the region that you decide to sit it in. And that's something which a lot of organizations just can't afford to swallow on top of the cost of already spiraling cost of the solution. So the few options that we've managed to glean from A, the Citrix website, and B, the Citrix customers that we're talking to is that they've condensed their portfolio into 3 or 4 options. So a NetScaler fixed capacity, which is a load balancer style solution only, so no application or desktop delivery facilities or functions at all in that. Citrix private cloud, hybrid multi-cloud, or platform license. So the platform license is for the big, monstrous multinational companies, sort of 10,000 users plus, which obviously, as a partner, we'd love to have loads of these on our books, but let's face it, they're few and far between in terms of the company profile to fit that licensing method. The Citrix private cloud is something that we come across fairly regularly, where Citrix are hosting that solution, so therefore the cost increases because of that facility, and also the customer has to put as much into the cloud as they physically can, which for some organizations and some businesses just isn't feasible, or not at the speed at which they would have to do it anyway. So that leaves a lot of customers, and I would say 90% plus of the customers that we're seeing in this hybrid multi-cloud option. So the perpetual licensing is gone from Citrix, the on-prem licensing is gone largely, and we're seeing a real push into this hybrid multi-cloud to give the customers the option to move into that cloud style environment, but also to support things that they don't necessarily need. And that's kind of where we're seeing a lot of that pushing. So to touch on a lighter note, I don't like to do the whole competition bashing kind of thing, but just setting this scene in terms of the reality and the feedback that we've had. Why are customers coming to us? So we offer a single pane of management. Our solution can be deployed, up and running, ready to deliver applications to users within a couple of hours. And it really is that quick. Everything is a wizard-driven console. So hence that simplicity kind of method. You don't need to be a coding level engineer to learn how to deploy this and put things through to your end users in terms of those facilities. We still have the same policies, golden images, template management, themes if you want your own color scheme on the portal that you're delivering to your users, and all the standard VDI and application delivery functions you've come to expect from a solution such as Citrix. But we do have that flexibility. RAS is one license. So when you're offering this solution to your customers, you sell them one SKU for 1 year, 3 years, or 5 years. But it's the customer's choice and your choice, not ours to force them to do one or the other. Okay. And with that flexibility, not only on the pricing and on the go-to-market, but also from an interoperability perspective from infrastructure. So it can be an on-prem, can be a hybrid, can be a cloud. The licensing doesn't change. It doesn't cost more. You don't have to buy plugins. You don't have to buy add-ons. It is a simple license, comes as a fully featured solution. You want reporting, it's included. You want to integrate with AVD, it's included. You want to hook it up to a secondary platform on-prem because you're moving from a Nutanix to a Scale or a VMware to a Nutanix kind of platform. Absolutely, we can help you through that journey. The biggest benefit there is the customer won't know any different, and we'll touch on that in a few slides' time. So your end user won't know what's going on. They'll just have their applications and desktops to be able to use as they would. TCO, big buzzword from all of us guys in IT, right? But from our perspective, the licensing is on average less than half the price of what you're seeing from Citrix. It includes 24/7 support, and you're reducing all that unnecessary extra add-ons or unnecessary expense that you don't need for features that you're paying for that you don't require. Because our licensing is at that cost point already, the more you use, the more you take advantage of it, but we're not going to make you pay for that pleasure of features that you aren't necessarily going to use. User experience from a portal perspective, from an end user using the applications and desktops, to be honest, it can work on any device. So we've got clients for Windows, Apple, Mac, iOS, Android, Google, theme clients, or if indeed it doesn't fit on any of the devices, I may have missed a couple there, so apologies in advance. But if it doesn't fit on any of the devices that are in our list, then we have a HTML5 compliant browser in that user experience as well. And it truly is any device anywhere. Again, we don't change the licensing method if you change devices. If one of your customers wants to go from Apple to Chromebooks because the devices are too much, budgets are being cut, happy to do that. Repurpose your licenses. It's per concurrent user. Doesn't matter what the device is, doesn't matter what the infrastructure is or how many applications you're delivering. It's all based on the users. And from a security perspective, we're at the moment being signed off for SOC 2 in the US, which is the government sort of central government entry level de facto for being able to deliver resources securely. But also from our perspective, we only have certain ports open on the firewall, and we have all of our security functions and features penetration testing done regularly, and that's all documented and available on our website. And if you want any more information on that, go to your account manager at Titan and we can certainly provide that to you. So what does the architecture look like? And I'm not going to go too heavy here, so don't panic too much. It's just to give you an introduction kind of feel. Effectively, within the Parallels software stack, you have a user portal, a load balancing software. You can deploy in single or multi-tenancy architecture, so you can download duplicates of the stack and have that in a HA kind of pair, whether that's on-prem in the cloud or to data centers yourselves, however you kind of want to operate. We integrate with any SAML-based authentication service or any radius-based authentication service, but also including SAML and SSO as well. We have live and historic monitoring, which can be used for auditing purposes, and also the management portal as a single pane of glass, like I mentioned to you previously. So hybrid workloads, any application which is hosted on a Windows server back to 2012 version 2 is going to be compatible with our solution. So legacy apps, modern day applications, all happy for us to deliver to any device on the user side, and can be delivered from a pool style resource. On the right hand side there, you can see what kind of applications we've got. So session hosts, remote PC, direct VDIs, or the more modern sort of cloud, Azure Virtual Desktop, or local applications on redirection as well. So really, really simple, can deliver anything that the customer would want, generally speaking. So there's a very hot topic in the market at the moment, and one which Microsoft are pushing extremely heavily, called Azure Virtual Desktop. Now, I'm not going to go up to this too much or labour the point massively on here, but we plug into AVD with the native AVD APIs that they provide. So differently to some of the other competitors on the market, that kind of Trojan horse to management platform, we plug in. So the benefit you get from that is if AVD updates something, we get it straight away natively. We don't have to wait for our R&D guys to go away and do some research and update as such. What you will get is all the full benefits of AVD, Teams optimization, 365 available, any legacy applications that we can get containerized and into the AVD solution, we can deliver those. We do also optimize Azure Virtual Desktop, spinning up machines, turning them on, turning them off, making the most of your resources and completely optimizing that. And it can reduce your customers' Azure costs by over 70%. I mean, the figure there, I think, is up to 79%, which is exactly the same as another solution you'll see called Nerdio sitting across AVD. But at the same time, if a customer is taking a transition to get from cloud into, or from on-prem to the cloud, that's fine by us. We can deliver the resources from the two places. You don't have to switch off your on-prem servers on a Friday, switch on cloud on the Monday, and everything magically moves at the click of a finger. Because you guys know as well as I do, that's not realistic. We live in the real world. Take your time to move your applications, wrap parallels around it instead, and move things as and when it's suitable. Take your time with user acceptance testing, because these are key business critical applications that we're talking about delivering here. So make sure it's right for you and for your customer before you sell them any solution that they don't necessarily think is suitable or is going to fit them. And talking about those applications and that power of choice, as you see on the screen here, is just a profile of applications within our admin console. But you'll see at the top, we've got some resources who could be hosted in the cloud. So that's an AVD sort of brand there for you, on-prem with a virtual Windows server, so Hyper-V in that infrastructure, and then maybe they're moving this journey towards a scale architecture that they've also purchased from Titan. So as applications are moving down into the bottom there, what we can do is those resources, as users log out, say you want to move Firefox and host that in your scale environment, as users log out of the remote session that they've got, next time they log in, they'll be on the new version of the application in Firefox by simply logging out and logging in again. Okay, so there's no downtime, there's no interruption from a business perspective, there's no loss of money, and your customers are not at risk at all. If something goes wrong, you roll it back to an older version of the template, and everybody pops up back in Hyper-V as well. So you can actually have both applications running in silo with each other, making sure that everything is okay, customer functions are all retained, and then at the point where you're ready, you can switch the old one off. Really, really simple, minimizes downtime, and allows you as the admins or the partner advising the admins to kind of take the time over that transition, which is really cool. And again, another choice on slide, but this is from the user perspective this time. So we've got an Apple-based browser-based client delivering simple applications here. And again, the same thing. But from a user perspective, you're going to log into your browser, log into a remote session, and you're just going to see those 13 applications, right? You're not going to know where they're hosted. So if Mind Manager moves from Hyper-V to Scale, you're not going to know, right? If Word moves from Hyper-V to Scale or from AVD to Scale, you log out, you log back in again, and the next time you log in, it's in a separate environment. But to you, it's in the same user login portal, which reduces the amount of stress and overheads on end users using the device themselves. Where's the application gone? I've got to log in differently. Like, reduces the support calls to your admin contacts to your customers as well, and just keeps everything simple, easy to use, and easy to access for the customer. And that's everything that we're all about as a company. So if you want to discover a little bit more about Parallels and what we do, there is a Tech Bytes channel on YouTube, which has some Citrix alternative deeper dive information from a more technical perspective, but also some insight into our migration tool. So we can lift a large amount of that deployment information and that administration information, your templates and things of that nature, from your CVAD into RAS. And then it's just kind of the little polishing edges that need doing. So a bit of updates on any sort of policy management that's required, maybe just copying the templates into different role-based and just updating your delivery and your theme. So if you have a color-coded scheme on your desktop that you're delivering from your remote session, then they're things that you would need to update locally in the machine. But realistically, we've seen customers go from initial inquiry to fully fledged and deployed within 4 to 6 weeks with ourselves. So it really can be done as quickly as the customer wants to move. So I would suggest that if there's any customers that are struggling with the renewal cost, I can't get a quote, or they've only been offered a multi-year quote and it doesn't suit them, let's have a conversation and see what we can do. Okay. And as I say, setting up a demo or a trial can be done in a matter of a couple of hours, and that migration process is really not as difficult as it sounds, or as setting up Citrix was initially. Is probably a good comparison point. We genuinely do have customers that have moved in a handful of weeks. And to request the demo, very, very easy from our perspective. It's a QR code on the screen at the moment. Scan that, and your information will go across to your Titan account manager, and they'll be able to get in touch with us and get that requested. And again, aside from the demand and the sheer volume of people we've got trying to contact us at the moment, usually within a few days you can get to see one of us on the phone. We can give you a full demo of the platform, get somebody technical if that's the kind of audience that we've got, to answer any upfront questions, get you a trial license, get you having a look, within a week or two anyway. So if we have an immediate demand, if we have a customer that's struggling, let us help them. Let us help you help them. We'll be able to do better for you than what they're currently experiencing, hopefully.